When I did my last IQ and aptitude test, I was taken into a separate room and I was interrogated to see if I cheated.
Yeah, and I got kicked off the bang bus because my dick was too big. So over the last few weeks, we've seen a bunch of videos of doctors, conspiracy theorists, chiropractors, and self-proclaimed geniuses go viral saying coronavirus isn't real, that viruses can't be caught in this guy's case, how X or Y supplement that they just happen to be selling right now happens to fix it. They're exploiting everyone's reasonable fears and concerns about COVID-19 to push various agendas and posting on public profiles so they can go viral via direct messages on Facebook. This self-proclaimed genius got, at the last time I saw this, 12,000 plus shares, 1 million views on YouTube and several million views on Facebook before it was taken down.
So if some COVIDiot sent this to you, send this back.
But this Gronk, who's a political candidate and not scientifically literate, has infected a lot of people with his views. Plus, if he is running for office, can you imagine some guy telling people they're a genius getting into office despite the dumb shit they say? Oh, wait. But nah, there's a good chance that you may have been sent this. And if this guy actually is running for office, I want this video to be out there so he can't run away from it. So here's a live reaction to this really shit take on how viruses and vaccines work.
Hey, I've had quite a few questions over the last few weeks, so I'm making this for my friends to clear a few things up.
Okay, so you made this for your friends. You made a 10-minute edited video for your friend and then posted it publicly on your personal Facebook page to clear things up for a few friends. It's not because it's a quick way of getting views and spreading conspiracies, right? Just to show a few friends.
You cannot catch a virus. And why can't you catch a virus? Because it's impossible. So why is it impossible to catch a virus?
Question.
Okay, this is a running theme where he inserts shit memes instead of showing proof. In fact, if you look through this whole video, you'll see he has no proof in it. Why? Because there aren't any. It's impossible to throw in screenshots with proof or evidence from papers when you're literally making shit up. But this kind of thing works. You may fall for it. Fair enough.
So how is it that people think that you can catch something that is not alive?
Everybody knows you never go full retard.
Okay, this idea that viruses aren't living is a long-running debate in science. But when it comes down to catching viruses, it doesn't really matter. Viruses are basically floating strands of DNA or RNA in protein shells. These shells protect them and allow them to get into cells. Sure, they don't function like living things until they enter your cells and replicate thousands of times, but that doesn't matter because once they're in, they hack into your cells' organelles. They use them to multiply and spread. His logic is literally, because it's not living, it can't possibly intend to infect you. So it can't infect you. I mean, first off, bacteria, which you regard as living yourself, don't have brains or the capacity to say, I want to infect this guy, either. But second, just because it's not living by some people's definition doesn't mean it can't affect your body or spread.
I was one of those kids that could read and write before I even started school.
Okay, so my auntie, she's a preschool teacher and teaches 3 to 5-year-olds to read all the time. So can many.
I knew my 1 to 12 times table before other kids even knew how to open a book.
I also learned my 1 to 12 times tables faster than most as well. Why? Because I had Indian parents. Nah, but kids in India, they do up to their 20 and sometimes 40 times tables in year 1 or 2. Just because you know your times tables a little bit faster doesn't make you qualified to talk about viruses or vaccines.
I won academic scholarships at 2 expensive private schools.
Okay, I got offers into 4 elite ones too, but I chose to go to a selected school. In Australia, there are literally over 1,000 private schools. Almost every one of them gives out scholarships every single year. There are literally tens of thousands of people in Australia who've gotten a scholarship and millions who've never even applied for them. This doesn't make you a genius.
I did 6 years of science, which included medicine.
I don't think you've gone to med school. Even if you did, this video demonstrates you clearly know nothing about how the human body or viruses work, and it's clear evidence of why you didn't get through it.
I did 6 years of natural health and medicine, and I spent 3 years solely looking into the nature of viruses, bacteria, protozoans, fungus, and parasites. And as a practitioner, I treated myself and a number of other people successfully long-term for conditions of the same.
Okay, so you did 6 years of medicine, 6 years of natural science and medicine, and then 3 looking into pathogens. Did you get any research done in that time? Nope. Maybe you're relatively junior or working on a long thesis. Could I see it? I mean, send me it. I'd love to see it. I'll send you mine.
And as a practitioner, I treated myself and a number of other people successfully long-term for conditions of the same. And
Okay, so you treat people long-term for infections, which take days or weeks to resolve, sometimes without treatment? All that proves is that you're a shit practitioner, mate, or that your natural medicines don't work.
And when I did my last IQ and aptitude test, I was taken into a separate room and I was interrogated to see if I cheated.
Yeah, and I got kicked off the bang bus because my dick was too big. I'll take things that never happen and can't be verified for $200. Okay, first off, who takes regular IQ tests? Second, if you're some super genius on this topic, why don't you know the basics of virology or biology? Can you even answer what the adaptive immune system is and how immunological memory forms? Since you're a genius who studied this for years, explain this to me to the interleukin level. You tell people to think for themselves and yet expect people to just trust you when you proclaim bullshit that you don't have proof or logic for? I haven't met one anti-vaxxer who could explain the basics of immunology to me. Not even fucking one.
Look, I don't have vested financial interest dictating what I can say, and I don't have shares in vaccine companies.
Okay, let's ignore the fact that millions of people on Facebook and Google talk shit about companies that have invested in vaccines on their platforms. This idea that this is all a conspiracy and that Big Pharma buys people off is a running theme and go-to for anti-vaxxers and science denialists. The vast majority of researchers in academia get their money from government and not-for-profit grants. And most people are working in blue sky, non-commercial research. Public health bodies exist to regulate and clamp down on vaccines. I've never seen a dime from Big Pharma. I've never bought shares in one either, and I'm a researcher.
The virus is nothing more than a solvent.
A solvent is literally anything that dissolves to become a solution. Okay.
And these solvents are created within the cells of the body.
How? Through what? You don't actually provide a mechanism of this in this entire shitty video.
This is why you cannot catch a virus. Viruses are created cellularly. Now the body can create hundreds of thousands of different viruses at any time. So why does a cell need to create a virus or a solvent? Created in response to the built-up toxicity that we have in our body.
Okay, toxicity. It builds up because of that. How? Again, how?
Well, a lot of people have spent a number of years putting shit in their minds and shit in their body.
Ah, right, of course, the shit in the mind and body hypothesis.
A lot of people think that just get flu shots injected into you every year, just drink your tap water. You know, people that go after organic food are tinfoil hat wearing boogers.
Okay, you're a genius, right? You've got a following now. Why hasn't anyone demonstrated this in a lab? Or else recruited or recreated this elsewhere? I mean, you're the genius, but I'll design an experiment for you that could win you the Nobel Prize right now. All you'd have to do is culture a few cells, get them growing, and then add a few of these toxins, stress hormones, whatever you think they are, into the media, and leave them in a petri dish where you check it every few days until you saw the viruses in a cell. You'd make millions from the Nobel Prize money alone. Why has no one done this? Because it doesn't fucking work that way. Nature doesn't care about what you believe. It also doesn't obey the laws of Tom Barnett. It doesn't care if some stable genius says a lot of crap. Viruses don't work that way. We've seen them under a microscope. You can see these images, and there's probably footage on YouTube. We infect animals with viruses all the time in research, and no, we don't do it by stressing them out. We inject or aerolize them into someone.
A cold, on the other hand, is mostly bacterial. And
a cold is bacterial? Let's do a quick search. No, it's not.
For the most part, what needs cleaning out of the cells are environmental toxins such as heavy metals, plastics, any kind of environmental industrial pollutants, the chemicals that you use in your home to clean things with, things you put in your body, and so on and so forth. Now, a virus does not attack cell tissue. What happens is that as a virus, which is a solvent, breaks down the toxic residue within a cell, it creates essentially a toxic waste. So that's why you'll feel shitty if you've got a viral infection. And what can happen is if there's a lot of shit in your cells, you're going to create a lot of toxic waste as that virus breaks it down. So what happens is that if there's too much of it, it can actually cause cell damage, and in extreme cases, it can cause cell death.
Again, there's literally no evidence of this anywhere whatsoever, but you could easily prove it. I mean, I've given you a basic experiment for how to prove your virus hypothesis. How about this? Why hasn't anyone demonstrated, elevated levels of environmental toxins in someone's blood before they got a virus? I mean, you might say you're a genius, but it takes literally 1 or 2 days to learn this stuff and start doing it in a lab. Go get your Nobel Prize, man. Go!
So there is actually one way that you can catch a virus, and I'm going to tell you what that is in a minute. But you got to learn a bit about the nature of viruses before I can tell you how you can catch one. But millions of people are dying, and you can catch some bat flu off of a counter or by being around your friends.
'Cause if we keep buying, then they'll keep selling the lie.
Okay, where'd this shitty music come from? I think this is him. Stick to something you're good at, man. Hopefully not politics. Actually, this is pretty shit music as well. Just shut the fuck up, Tom.
A virus is specific to specific cells in the body. So somebody with hepatitis, for example, which affects the liver, does that affect the heart? Do they have lung problems? Do they have brain or gonad problems? Likewise, a virus that attacks the lungs will not affect the kidneys. It's because the virus is specific to specific cells in the body. So because a virus is not transmissible within your own body, it should make sense that a virus is not transmissible between people.
Okay, where a virus attacks depends on what cells the virus or its virions can infect. They get into cells through various mechanisms. This coronavirus uses a spike protein to get in through ACE2 receptors, a lot of which are in your nostrils at the back of your throat, but they're also in other tissues. We're trying to see different cells in your body get affected by COVID-19. Okay, so your logic is they can't transmit inside your body, so they can't infect other people. But bro, there's nothing to say that viruses don't transmit inside the body. Measles gets into your lymph node and blood and can cause diarrhea. It can affect your brain. As I said, even COVID-19 gives you diarrhea. It's been seen in other tissues as well. So this disproves your whole theory right there.
And it's especially impossible for a virus to make the jump between species.
Okay, but cross-species transmission is difficult because viruses adapt to infect specific cells through a specific mechanism or a set of receptors that isn't always there in another species. But viruses replicate fast. Mutations literally millions or trillions of times a day if you look at the scale of how many exposures we have. Mutations happen every single time a replication occurs. It's only a matter of time before any one of these leads to a mutation that is able to cross-infect, and then it has to be able to transmit via saliva, sex, or other means, which does happen too. When you have an environment when there's lots of cross-species interaction, when there's no hand hygiene on a lot of exposure to things like blood, like a wet farm, eventually just because of random changes that happen every time a cell replicates that can occur. Limiting interactions with species known to transmit viruses more will lead to less likelihood of these viruses replicating. Hand hygiene and things like that reduces the chances to very little. That's how it works.
So how is it that a number of people can get a virus at the same time? If it is created within the cells, how is it that a lot of people can get it at the same time? Well, if somebody at home has a cold, or somebody at work or at your sporting club, does everybody in that place get a cold? You know that the answer is no, despite the fact that a bacterial infection can be contagious.
First off, motherfucker, you just said a cold is a bacteria. According to your logic, everyone who is exposed to a cold should get the cold because it's a living thing. But as you just told us, not everyone does. To be clear, the cold is a virus. The reason why everyone doesn't get it is because a lot of people may not have had enough exposure to cause an infection that overwhelms or escapes the immune system. Or because that person is not as susceptible as an infected one. Just because viruses don't infect everyone doesn't mean they don't exist and that they can't infect some people. In the end, if this is true, why do we have flu seasons? Why are people with lowered immune function more susceptible to viral infections?
So how is it that a number of people can get a virus at the same time? There is an intelligence that runs through all of life. It's why seeds know when to germinate. It's why animals know when to mate or to hibernate or to come out of hibernation. So the body knows when it's a good time to undergo a cleaning, and it knows when it's a good time from the environment and climatic conditions. This is why a number of people in the same area can undergo a viral detoxification. But again, does everybody get a viral detoxification at the same time?
Okay, the intelligence of life mechanism. I fail to see how this is relevant. How is not being alive make a virus be unable to infect you, first of all? But secondly, according to your logic, over 2 million people at the same time of making this video around the world in completely different climatic conditions just suddenly had the same smart life decision to detoxify themselves, all getting the same symptoms with a lot prior to community transmission. being able to be traced back to someone else all at once.
The intelligence that runs through all of life means that that body knows that it does not have to undergo a viral detoxification at that point in time.
If the intelligence of life is there to stop a flu from occurring when you're healthy, why do young, healthy people get this randomly too? They have been dying due to COVID-19. In fact, 12% of ICU patients are between 20 to 44. Why is it that we've seen sudden sharp drops as soon as vaccines have come out for various viruses in the past? Why do we know that every flu season, vaccinated people have lower rates of getting severe influenza? Either viruses can indeed transmit through people, and vaccines confer immunity against the population, stopping them from being able to spread it, or vaccines make us super strong, super healthy people. Checkmate, anti-vaxxer.
Additionally, our bodies all talk to each other, particularly our immune systems. This is one of the ways that we're attracted to the opposite sex. We can sense their immune system. It's how we know that we can create a genetically diverse offspring that will have the greatest chance of survival. We sense another's immune system partly by scent, and this has been taken away quite a lot in modern life. Things like perfumes and colognes, and especially when women go on the pill, it can affect their ability to sense a man's immune system. This is why some women come off birth control when they decide it's time to have a baby with their partner, and they smell them for the first time and they realize that they're actually not attracted to them. And while I can't condense more than 10 years of experience into a short video, hopefully that's enough to show you why you can.
Hey baby, my macrophages wanna just gobble you up. No, but this part actually has a bit of proof behind it, but it's only a bit. I bet you this dumbass doesn't know the mechanisms for how this works though, yet alone could we ask him to articulate this. The only studies showing this are based on facial attractiveness, sight, not scent. The scent probably does play a role though. But you know what probably plays a bigger role? Coming off a hormone which affects sexual activity and desire more than anything.
And while I can't condense more than 10 years of experience into a short video,
bro, your 10 years of experience is trumped by millions of doctors who have decades more than you and are almost all closer to being a genius than you ever will be. Your experience doesn't mean shit. When you describe a scenario in a scientific paper, you often get hundreds of years of data and experience in one paper. That's why we rely on them rather than geniuses and expert opinions in medicine. We don't actually listen to other experts unless they have some reasonable proof behind it. This guy doesn't.
And recently I saw a video from a guy who was clearly able to use his own brain. He asked a couple of good questions, and those questions led to the finding of vaccine patents. So what you can do is you can look up these patent numbers right now. First one being US 200-625-7852. And when you look at that, you'll see how long ago coronavirus was patented.
Okay, so a lot of the rest of this video goes into various conspiracy theories. So first off, you can't patent a virus or discovery for that matter. You don't have to trust that I'm a stable genius to believe this. I started up a medical device company and have patents that are close to getting fully granted. You can't patent something that exists in nature. This guy doesn't know this. Secondly, I don't think that this guy understands that SARS and this version of coronavirus, or SARS-CoV-2, are entirely separate viruses that very likely have different targets for vaccination. They're completely separate things. Third, anyone can file a patent and have it pending, but that doesn't mean it was granted. The first one he's just said, that one was withdrawn.
Yeah, here's a European one, EP 317231-9B1. And that one you'll find to be a vaccine patent, which was funnily enough just approved in November of 2019. When did we start seeing coronavirus?
Fourth, and how we know that this idiot's never ever read or is incapable of understanding how patents work? Because this live attenuated corona vaccine is for fucking chickens. He's the dumbass who said that this can't spread from animals too. I mean, go and look this up for yourself. How does any of this make any sense? How does a genius miss this?
So what happens with that incubated virus is it's sterilized and put into a vaccine. Now straight away you don't want that because that's bad news. Then when it's added to 70 or 80 chemicals, you definitely don't want that in your body. So when these viruses are loaded into vaccines and flown all the way around the world, and people are getting their flu shots and all their other vaccines, that's the only way you can get animal tissue into your own bloodstream. It is so far beyond the realm of possibility to get animal tissue into your bloodstream by way of being around people or from surfaces or from the air or from any other way other than injection. So
the beautiful thing about science, as opposed to everything you've said, is that you don't have to believe in any of it. It's there. You can literally Wikipedia hop through concepts and articles as I did when I was in first year as med school and didn't know how to go into research papers myself. Or you could watch a YouTube video which can tell you how something works to the very basic foundation block level, which doesn't have logical fallacies. YouTube can be a very good tool to learn about these things if you find the right things to learn from. So this guy goes on to talk about how vaccines are the only way you can catch a virus. This can be disproven by the simple fact that vaccines have stopped the spread of a bunch of major viruses. They've eradicated them in many cases, though a lot of them are coming back due to, in large part, anti-vaxxers. This vaccine causes virus bullshit? Why don't we see huge spikes in viruses after vaccinations then? You can't find one scientific paper or theory or reasonable logical mechanism that doesn't have gaps and holes in it behind what he says. You could, as I said before, literally demonstrate how any of these hypotheses work and win a Nobel Prize by literally buying $1,000 worth of equipment and doing a day's worth of research. We've done these studies already. Your likelihood of getting the flu decreases, and you can't catch the flu from flu vaccine. How is COVID-19 spreading then? We don't have a vaccine for that yet. How is it going through so many people?
And the idea that this virus is killed upon contact of heat or anything else, because a virus isn't alive in the first place, so how can you kill something that is never alive?
You don't have to kill it. You just have to damage or dislodge the outer shell, which encapsulates the virus to stop it from being able to infect you. Best ways you could do that? Hand washing, or not exposing yourself to the virus in the first place.
So there's only two things that you need to do. One, don't get a flu shot. Actually, don't get any shot.
Okay, the flu shot is an inactivated virus. It literally cannot give you the flu unless you believe in zombies, which I guess this guy and many who believe him may.
And two, don't stay in your house.
Of course though, this is the only thing I'll agree with him. You should be as healthy as possible. Getting enough vitamin D not only ensures your immune system is strong enough to fight stuff off, it also reduces rates of depression. It's necessary for strong bones. Going outside with lots of people at the same time is literally the worst thing you could be doing right now.
There is something else you can do actually, and that is to turn off your TV and your social media.
This is another thing I agree on. You should really shut off any videos which have them in it, except for this one. Share this with the person who shared this to you, if you've seen this video, at the very least though.
And dictating to other people what they should be doing with their lives when perhaps they're just immune to media. So guys, if you're doing that, then you're not actually helping anything. What you're really doing is you're laying down, you're bending over, you're spreading your legs, and you're letting the long arm of the system get itself shoulder deep inside of you.
Okay, yeah, let's forget about, those damn New Zealanders and South Koreans who curtail spread by listening to public health bodies. Okay, at the end of this, he goes off on a rant about how he shouldn't be letting governments take away our freedoms. We should be doing all our normal stuff. Basically the opposite of what we should be encouraging. Look, it does suck that we have to go through this. It's hard. As a blood cancer patient and 2-time bone marrow transplant recipient, I've been forced to isolate for years of my life. But the sad thing is that if we don't do this, we could indeed face this at a rate which will hurt us most. It's crazy how many people will blindly believe one person, but not trust hundreds to millions of people who are experts on how to act, and listen to that one person's opinions on how to act. The moral of this story? If someone has to tell you they're a stable genius, they're probably not. Please be careful, stay safe. If you want to learn about some actual stuff we're doing to maybe help people with coronavirus and will definitely help us research this stuff in our app, check out seearoundyou.com or beamhealth.com and follow us along. You'll see more stuff about that soon. But yeah, take it easy guys, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Well, hopefully we'll have some good news.